Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be doing a bit of a versus between the BOSS DS-1 Distortion and the Electro Harmonix Soul Food Overdrive. Now I know two completely different sort of overdrive / distortion pedals. The DS-1 gets a lot of flack for sounding too fizzy. The Electro Harmonix Soul Food is a clone of the famous Klon Centaur, which are like going for like thousands of pounds on eBay these days. So yeah, this is a kind of, you know, it takes away a bit of the low end, I guess, and is more of a mid-forward pedal. This is more your classic distortion. So I just wanted to just give you a bit of a taste of what these sound like. Okay, so this is going into my Marshall DSL-1 sort of 1 watt combo amp. This is on the 1 watt mode, not the 0.1 watt mode, so we've got a little bit more headroom on the clean channel to test out these pedals properly. The EQ is flat, tiny little bit of reverb. Okay, so this is what the clean sound sounds like. Using a Squire Affinity Series Telecaster on the bridge pickup right now. So here we go. This is what the DS-1 sounds like. I've got volume maxed. I've got distortion just under a half. I've got the tone at about 9 o'clock. Any higher than that, it tends to get a little bit fizzy. Anyway, here we go. Versus the Soul Food. Now here I've got the drive quite high and the treble is at noon, which is, you know, unaffected, and the volume is at about just over 9 o'clock. And as you can probably tell, you know, that the Soul Food is very middly. It's taken away a lot of the bass. Just flick back to the DS-1. You know, so if I'm being honest with you, and this will surprise you, you know, initial thoughts are, I actually do prefer the DS-1. I mean, because of the extra sort of flat response, as opposed to the Soul Food, which to me sounds a little bit compressed. But then again, you know, in a band context, that might be just what you need to cut through, right? Okay, so let's just take that off there. I'm just going to sort of turn the gain up on the Soul Food to max, bit more treble. Now, the Soul Food, for the Soul Food, you know, as a main distortion into a clean amp, this is not really its forte, so I'm just giving you a bit of a, you know, an idea what it sounds like. Versus the DS-1. Bearing in mind, that's just half on the distortion of the DS-1. If I crank it, so yeah, initial thoughts are, I actually prefer the DS-1. Now, that's not to say the Soul Food is useless. Actually, what it's supposed to be for is, you know, one of its fortes really is as a boost, right? So we've got this placed after the DS-1, and what I'm going to do is just back the gain off, right off, just keep the treble neutral, boost the volume. So now we've got this as a, you know, your main drive. Then we can kick in the soul food. Which gives you a massive hike in volume, right? You could not do that the other way around if the DS-1 was after the soul food, because the DS-1's not designed that way. So yeah, I could use this, you know, the soul food as a solo boost from the DS-1. Now, let's see how these react to, you know, an amp with a bit more dirt on it, right? So what we'll do is we'll just crank the clean channel. Right, so I've got a bit of hair on there now, right? So now we're going to try that with the DS-1, see how that reacts. Okay, I'm just backing off the distortion. So, clean-ish, DS-1. And then the same thing for the soul food. Right, now I'm going to put everything on a half for this, see what it's like. I haven't really tried this. So clean, soul food. Seems to be reacting a bit better now. And now we're going to increase the treble, increase the gain. Oh. You know, and that really has boosted it in a nice way. And if I keep increasing that gain, we're going to get into harmonic feedback, because we are pushing those mid-forward frequencies a lot now. So these are the microphonic pickups on my cheap Telecaster, so can't blame that on the pedal. Let's just try the same with the DS-1. I don't think it's going to be able to do it because there's not enough mids in there. Increase it a bit more. Increase the mids on the amp. And just bearing in mind we're still only on half gain. Let's increase it. Versus the soul food. So you see the soul food starting to come into its own now on a dirty amp. Now if I just keep on increasing that gain, oh yes, so anyway, so that gives you an idea, you know, into a clean amp, I prefer the DS-1, you know, but once you start playing with a distorted amp or an overdriven amp, you know, that's where the extra sort of high to mid push of the soul food comes into play. Whereas with the DS-1, the frequencies are just flat, right? Which could be what you prefer. So now let's just try this with, you know, an already quite distorted amp. Now, we put the soul food into the front end of that. And this is where we'll have to start raising the tone a little bit more. You know, so I would say, you know, going into a distorted amp, this starts to sort of fall away a little bit, in my opinion. Soul food. Very, very... Sorry about it. It's struggling. I'm cutting it right back now. Volume, drive, right back, treble, right back. This is what it sounds like, clean. Soul food. Having less of an impact there. So yeah, I guess what people are saying is true about the Klon and also this, you know, pushing, you know, a mildly driven amp or an amp just on the breakup. This is great, right? But let's just go back to the clean sound with the max headroom on there. Back to the clean. DS-1. Tone back again. Huge sound. Soul food. Compressed. Now going into the 0.1 watt mode again. Very compressed sounding. DS-1. A lot more open sounding. So there you go. You know, it's not always that simple. You know, people, you know, slate this pedal. It's too fizzy, right? It depends on the application. You know, I've slated this pedal saying it's too mid-forward, too compressed, but it depends what context you use the pedals in. So I'm going to be using this as my main distortion because I like the flat response. You know, I like the extra bass response, you know, as opposed to this. Which to me is too compressed. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have that as my main distortion. And then I'm going to have this back in the gain off as my solo boost. Obviously going to put in the maximum power mode again to get the headroom. So sorry, this to this. And that's what I'm going to do. And let me know in the comments what you're going to do. I mean, this is you know, these are pretty inexpensive pedals. I'll put a link in the description. But, you know, make your own choice. Let us know what you think in the comments. Catch you later. Bye.